Tonight on Reporting Scotland. As a retired Catholic priest who sexually abused children is jailed, one of his victims tells of the lifelong impact the assaults have had on him.
I've not been able to have a life, or it's been hindered or held back, or it's cost me relationships, it's cost me jobs, it's cost me my health, it's cost me my profession.
Also in the programme. The Scots-based former Catalan minister Clara Ponsatí faces charges in Spain claiming she was involved in violence against police during the region's referendum vote. Professor Ian Wilmot, who led the team which created Dolly the sheep, has revealed he has Parkinson's disease. The Royal Bank of Scotland is accused of breaking its promise to invest in new mobile bank vehicles. And the golden shot, another day on medal target for the Scots at the Commonwealth Games. Good evening. A retired Catholic priest who sexually abused children as young as 5 has been jailed for 9 years. 82-year-old Father Paul Moore abused 3 children and a student priest in Ayrshire between 1976 and 1995. The judge said he'd been convicted of despicable crimes. Katrina Renton has the story.
Mark Daly. My name is Mark Daly.
Father Paul Moore, confronted by BBC Scotland in 2015 over allegations he had abused young boys.
You say they are victims of abuse at your hands.
No.
Are you saying
no,
they are lying?
I absolutely.
Are they lying?
No, they're not lying. They think that that's what it is.
At the age of 82, he finally found himself on trial for crimes spanning almost 20 years. Paul Smythe, on the left, was one of Moore's victims. He came to court today to make sure justice was done. Judge Lady Ray sentenced Father Moore to 9 years for what she described as despicable crimes.
In carrying out these crimes, you took advantage of your position as a minister of religion, a profession from which the public, including children, ought to be able to expect integrity, trust, support, and pastoral care.
Paul Smythe had been an altar boy, and Father Moore taught him to play church music. He was just 11 when Moore first sexually assaulted him. He has waived his anonymity.
I can still remember it very clearly, the first incident, very clear as if it was yesterday. Everybody thought he was a good guy. You know, as if, I don't know, people thought he was a saint, or, you know. In those days, people did the whole life, like, whatever the priest said was kosher. You know, that was it.
Another of Moore's victims was just 5 years old when he was sexually assaulted at school in Irvine in 1977. Nowadays, that crime would have been classed as rape. He also abused another child in the 70s and a student priest in 1995. Moore later admitted to his bishop that he'd had sexual involvement with 2 males who were underage at the time. Maurice Taylor, who was the Bishop of Galloway, sent him to a residential clinic in Canada for treatment. Paul Smythe spoke to the police in the late 90s. More than 20 years later, Father Paul Moore was found guilty by a jury.
I've got just that people can now believe that I've been telling the truth for years. If he's a man of God, as they say they are, then what have you got to say to God in Judgment Day?
Katrina Renton, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Well, a boy who was just 5 years old when he was targeted by Moore has waived his anonymity and has spent years of his life campaigning for victims of abuse. He spoke to Katrina Renton after the former priest was sentenced.
It's poisoned my life. I've not been able to have a life, or it's been hindered or held back, or it's cost me relationships, it's cost me jobs, it's cost me my health, it's cost me my profession.
Andy Lavery was in Primary 1 when this school photograph was taken. That same day, he says, he was abused by Father Moore.
My abuse was ignored when I was a child, and it started when I was 5. It didn't finish when I was 5. They say children should speak out now, but I spoke out at the time, and all I got was physical violence of adults. I've done nothing wrong. I was an innocent child. I am a victim before the courts. But it gives you no sense of relief, if that makes sense.
Andy says the Catholic Church has not said sorry to him.
Nobody's ever apologised to me. Nobody's asked to meet me. Nobody's asked to help me. Nothing's changed, and there is no healing for us victims yet, and there's no redress, there's no any modicum of any accountability from the Catholic Church.
Do you think that you have finally got justice?
I've got partial justice today because it doesn't heal me, it doesn't help me, it doesn't repair the harm, but it manages and contains Moore, who was a malign and dangerous man towards many male children.
Can you forgive Paul Moore?
No, no forgiveness. It's about justice. It's about safety. It's about what is right. It's about the rule of law.
Andy Lavery speaking to Katrina Renton there. We've asked the Catholic Church for a comment following today's sentencing, but so far they have not responded. BBC Scotland has obtained a copy of the European arrest warrant for the former Catalan Education Minister Clara Ponsatí, whose extradition hearing will begin in Edinburgh tomorrow. The document outlines the case against the St Andrews University academic who was wanted in Spain for her part in October's campaign for independence. Our political correspondent Niall O'Gallagher has the story.
Last month, Spain issued a European arrest warrant for St Andrews professor Clara Ponsatí. She's wanted there on charges of rebellion and misappropriation of public funds for her role as a minister in the government that oversaw October's independence referendum. I've obtained a copy of the European arrest warrant that lays out the case against Clara Ponsatí. This document says that someone's guilty of the crime of rebellion if they revolt violently and publicly for purposes including declaring the independence of a part of Spain's national territory. And to support that claim of violence, the warrant goes on to lay out in some detail injuries it says were suffered by Spanish security forces as they tried to stop the referendum from going ahead. At one Barcelona polling station, it says that officers suffered attacks consisting of kicks and punches, as well as multiple insults. In Tarragona, one officer suffered the impact of a projectile in the right eye. And the warrant blames civilians, incited, it says, by the Catalan leadership, for the police violence, saying voters impeded access to a polling station, generating the aggression of the officers who intervened. The warrant refers to aggression against 6 police officers at Girona's Col·legi Verd. I went there recently and spoke to Iruna, who saw what happened. When the police arrived at the door, she told me, they pushed us and threw us to the ground. I got hit in the head. A friend saw what was happening and came to help us, but the police kept hitting him. The warrant says ministers in Barcelona were warned there would be violence, but went ahead anyway. Enric Millo is Spain's delegate in Catalonia. Why, he asked, did the Catalan government call for people to go to the polling stations, not just to try and vote, but to protect the ballot boxes and impede the action of the police? On the lesser charge of misappropriation of public funds, Spanish authorities estimate the cost of holding the referendum to have been €1.6 million. There is no suggestion that any Catalan minister profited personally. Tomorrow, a Scottish court will begin to consider whether Clara Ponsatí should be sent to face these charges in Spain. Niall O'Gallagher, reporting Scotland.
The SNP's defence spokesman says the Prime Minister should seek MPs' approval before any military action is taken against Syria. Stuart MacDonald says he doesn't believe that airstrikes will provide the long-term solutions needed to end the war. Well, our political correspondent David Porter joins me now from Westminster. David, how much support do you think there is for his position?
Jackie, there's no doubt that the incident near Damascus at the weekend has caused widespread revulsion worldwide in the UK, in the rest of Europe, and here at Westminster as well. But there are very real differences amongst MPs as to the best way forward, and these differences cut across many of the parties. There are some who believe that MPs should back Theresa May if she decides to support Donald Trump in what increasingly looks likely will happen, that there will be some kind of military action led by the United States against the Assad regime. Others are not quite so sure. The SNP has long been quite sceptical of the use of military force and whether it has worked in Syria in the past. Now their defence spokesman, Stuart MacDonald, says that MPs should be given a chance to debate the issue. Indeed, he says, in his words, it would be a scandal if the House of Commons was not able to make a decision on such an important issue.
The UK Air Force is only engaged there because of a parliamentary mandate from December 2015. Any extension to that or change to that it would be a scandal if that was to happen solely at the government's behest. That must come before Parliament.
Now, timing is of the essence here. At the moment, Parliament isn't sitting. The House of Commons is on its Easter recess. It is not due to return till Monday. Now, in emergency, it could be called back later this week. But we may have a situation that by the time MPs get back, that already military action has been taken in some shape or form against Syria.
Thank you very much, David Porter there. The man who led the team which created Dolly the sheep is giving his backing to new research into Parkinson's after revealing he has the condition. Professor Sir Ian Wilmot has spoken exclusively to our correspondent Elizabeth Quigley about his hopes for the future and about the major research programme involving Edinburgh and Dundee universities.
He's used to cameras and questioning, but this time it's personal. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's before Christmas.
There was a sense of clarity. Well, at least now we know, and we can start doing things about it, as well as obviously the disappointment that it will possibly shorten my life slightly, but more particularly, it will alter the quality of life. I like to walk, and I asked my consultant last week, would he think it reasonable to aim on walking sort of 4 or 5 miles? And he was rather discouraging, which is something that I would miss if he proves to be right.
He came into the spotlight when he unveiled Dolly the sheep in 1997. She was the first mammal ever to be cloned from an adult cell. Born the year before, her arrival prompted horror stories and hope in equal measure, and led to the development of personalised stem cells, known as iPS cells, used here at the MRC Centre for Regenerative Medicine in Edinburgh.
His discovery has really opened up an area of biology that has transformed the way that we try to study diseases, the way that we model diseases, and I think it's really exciting that one of the conditions that iPS cells will be addressing is Parkinson's disease.
So could his breakthrough in the 90s help the hundreds of thousands of people living with Parkinson's across the globe today?
To me, science has always been important, not just because of the basic knowledge that it acquired, but because of the opportunities for, in this case, treatment.
Elizabeth Quigley, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
The Royal Bank of Scotland is being accused of breaking its promise to invest in new mobile bank vehicles. It's closing dozens of branches across Scotland, but said it would increase the number of mobile vans. However, RBS has now published a timetable which shows cuts in the time the vans will spend in remote communities. Andrew Thompson reports.
For many towns and villages, the traditional bank branch is now a thing of the past, replaced by fleeting visits by mobile bank vans. And under timetable changes for the RBS service, these visits are getting even shorter. In Canusie, the weekly visit is being cut from 45 minutes a week to just 20, much to the dismay of this now retired local bank manager.
Say you had 20 customers, can you serve them all a minute each? You know? And the other aspect of it, I walk with a stick. I mean, I don't carry this for show, I carry it because I need it. And to come down the steps from a mobile bank on both of them, I find extremely difficult.
Local small businesses are also concerned.
It's made life very difficult. Every small business needs to deal in cash, and we still need to pay our cash into the bank, and there's no bank to pay it into. I recently tried to make a deposit from my charity tin in the shop, and the bank said they couldn't do it because it was too much.
RBS recently gave evidence to an ongoing inquiry by Westminster's Scottish Affairs Committee, telling MPs that in the last 3 years they had invested £33 million in their Scottish branch network and mobile banking fleet, with a further £12 million investment planned for 2018. Liz Matheson, RBS's Chief Executive of Personal and Business Banking, also said that they would be increasing the number of mobile vans that they have. The Federation of Small Businesses say that they appear to have broken this promise.
If you've got a mobile banking van that comes around your community less often than Halley's Comet, you are going to find it very difficult to build that into your business. What if it's going to come right in the middle of the day, right at your busiest point? Are you supposed to shut up shop and go and do the banking that way? Are you supposed to send a junior member of staff perhaps through the town or village carrying an amount of cash? We need to think about the practical effect that these sort of changes have.
In a statement, RBS said that they welcome feedback on how their services are running and have already committed to reviewing their timetables on a monthly basis. The doors of this branch here in Aviemore will close for the final time at the end of next month, and there's real concern about whether RBS's mobile branch service will be good enough to serve vast areas of rural Scotland. Andrew Thompson, reporting Scotland, Aviemore.
It's 17 minutes to 7. A reminder now of tonight's top story. Retired Catholic priest Father Paul Moore, who sexually abused children as young as 5 between 1976 and 1995, has been jailed for 9 years. And still to come, Avengers Assemble. We look ahead to one of the year's most anticipated films, which gives Edinburgh a starring role. It was another golden day for Scotland at the Commonwealth Games, but a bronze medal in the diving was perhaps the story of the day. James Heatley became Scotland's first medalist in diving since 1958. The previous success belonged to his grandfather, Peter. With a roundup, here's Jane Lewis.
The toast of Team Scotland.
Well, he's known as Dave the Rave. I suspect there may be a shindig tonight.
And with good reason. Gold for Dave McMath as he won the double trap. And the medal that took Scotland past their greatest ever tally at an overseas Commonwealth Games.
Scottish contingent are absolutely beside themselves.
I think I've took a lot of time off uni to train, so I've been pretty much professional for the last couple of months. So yeah, I think all the dedication, yeah, it's been worth it, definitely.
Before McMath's gold, there was a bronze in the women's double trap for Linda Pearson. Scotland up and running on day 7.
For Team Scotland in the diving pool on day 1.
All eyes on the 1 metre springboard.
Yes, that's going to be good enough for bronze.
And the end of a 60-year wait for a Scottish diving medal. His late grandfather, Sir Peter, the last Scot to achieve that feat.
There goes Peter Heatley with a very fine dive.
He's the reason I started diving anyway, so to be able to bring another medal back into the family is amazing. Yeah, I mean, and 4 years ago I didn't think, especially for 1 metre, normally 3 metres is my main event, so I can't even believe that I did that on 1 metre.
From 1 metre to 100 and para-sprinter Maria Lyle. The home favourite way out in front, but a silver for the Scottish 18-year-olds.
Maria Lyle, the first to go over to congratulate her friend and rival.
I'm really pleased to have won the silver medal, just really a bit disappointed with my performances. Training's been going a lot better than that, but no, you know what, not everyone gets to run for the country, so to get a medal I'm incredibly proud.
No medals were handed out at the boxing today, but Rhys McFadden and John Docherty won their quarter-finals. A jig of delight, with 2 more bronze medals at least coming Scotland's way.
He's absolutely delighted.
I'm delighted with that performance, and I'm just going to keep progressing and hopefully bring that gold medal for Scotland.
So Scotland's medal tally is growing. The record from 12 years ago has been beaten. It's been a wonderful Wednesday here on the Gold Coast for Team Scotland, and there's still 4 days of competition remaining. Jane Lewis, reporting Scotland, Gold Coast.
Well, few would have predicted that Team Scotland's men's basketball team would reach the semi-finals of the Commonwealth Games. Well, after their previous coach left, Australian Rob Beveridge was appointed at short notice for the Games campaign. The team and their new mentor had to gel quickly before facing England in their opening game. Rona McLeod reports on their remarkable journey.
The sun was setting, but it was the start of a new dawn for the Team Scotland basketball team, at last reaching the centre of the action in the Athletes' Village for the first time after preliminary games over 1,000 miles away.
This is what we've been waiting for. This one, we've been isolated, we were in Townsville and we're up to Cairns, and then we're now actually coming around here, and now we actually feel like we're part of the games now. We're being around other athletes, other sports, which is going to be a great feeling.
The feel-good factor's clear in the team, under the guidance of brand new Australian coach Rob Beveridge. Well, the rise to success for Beveridge with Team Scotland has been rapid. He was only appointed on the 2nd of March. On the 27th of March, he had his first training session with the squad. And then, 9 days later, against all odds, they beat England. After that, victories against Cameroon, India and Nigeria.
Scotland is going to prevail,
setting up Saturday's prestigious semi-final against Australia. And the coach's Scottish dad was very proud.
He cried. You know, when I rang my dad and said, hey, I've got some news for you, that I've been appointed to coach Scotland at the Commonwealth Games, you know, he was just overwhelmed. And once we found out it was England, it was like, I don't care what you do, as long as you beat England. You know, we beat England, and we've just grown from there, just with self-confidence and belief, and togetherness with this group is very, very special.
Well, he's got a lot of experience, he's got a way with words. He's a very athlete-centred kind of coach, which is a great thing to be around. So, you know, he's there for us. We trust him. We know that he's got our backs, and we want to get his back as well. So it's a great mix.
Only Scotland and Australia are unbeaten so far in the competition. All admit it's a big task, but few would write off Scotland's chances. Rona McLeod, reporting Scotland, the Gold Coast.
What a great tale. Now, Scotland is now. What do you think? Well, that's the new slogan just unveiled at the heart of a marketing push to sell the country to the world. It's got £6 million behind it. But how much difference can a new logo and rebranding make? Our business and economy editor, Douglas Fraser, investigates.
Now is a place where hope calls home.
Scotland, the brand, and it's had a revamp. We've seen campaigns like this before, but this time the message to the world is more coordinated. Today at this tourism trade show in Glasgow, the sales pitch looks familiar, tartan and castles. Even the Queen has her own tourism product, a magnet to the burgeoning Chinese market.
They're fascinated by the royal family. They're interested to see where the Queen resides. As you know, she comes to Edinburgh every summer for Royal Week at the beginning of July, and they are actually fascinated to think that around any particular corner they might see the Queen or one of the members of the royal family coming past.
But clans and castles don't unlock global investment in world-leading life sciences.
With economic growth sluggish in Scotland, getting to a more modern image of the country overseas is one of the fronts on which the Scottish Government and its agencies are trying to boost international earnings from students, from tourists, from inward investors and from those importing Scottish goods and services.
There's a bit of Scottish pride there. More than 10 years ago, remember this? Scotland was the best small country in the world. Slogans can sometimes hit a dud note, so what's different about this one?
It's a bold narrative. It builds on the warm welcome Scotland has, it builds on our rich history and heritage, but it also is demonstrating to the world that we are also progressive and pioneering in so much that we're doing.
But how much difference can a slogan make, particularly one that states the obvious?
I take it is trying to be about it's now, it's present, it's modern, rather than the tartan, old shortbread image of Scotland. Whether that will be evident to people on the outside is about modernness, maybe another question.
Launching this week in Scotland, London, New York, and with the First Minister in China, the next task is to make it work and to get results. Douglas Fraser, reporting Scotland.
Scotland is now.
How's this for a new image overseas? It's one of the most eagerly anticipated films of the year. Avengers Infinity Wars brings together comic book heroes and heroines from across the Marvel universe. It also offers a starring role to the city of Edinburgh, where the production based itself last summer. Here's our arts correspondent, Pauline McLean.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
It's one of the biggest budget films ever made, uniting a vast cast of comic book heroes. Film director Joe Russo was already a regular visitor to Scotland, and it didn't take him long to decide Edinburgh should have a starring role in his latest film.
You know, if you live here, that lit at night, that the town has a gorgeous sort of Gothic feel to it.
They spent 7 weeks in the city last summer, filming action sequences around historic landmarks.
I think Scotland offers an incredible amount as a shooting location. There's very different looks between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Glasgow's doubled for New York at points. Within an hour, you can be to the coast, you can be to the lochs, you can be to the mountains. You know, it's a really diverse topography.
The production was the biggest to come to Scotland so far, with a record £10 million spent on local facilities. And those who helped bring it here say it sends out an important message to other filmmakers.
It's really very important that we keep attracting these big budget productions into Scotland. It gives our crew a different experience in the fact that it's a whole different scale. It gives our cities a different experience as well.
The company spent close to 2 months based in Edinburgh, but say they could have stayed much longer if Scotland had its own film studio.
There's a reason we only shot 6 weeks here, is because we have to go back to Atlanta and Georgia in the States to shoot on their sound stages because they have the facilities there. Had the facilities here that could have accommodated us, that might not have been the case. We may have stayed here for the duration of the production. With the right infrastructure here, some sound stages, I think you would attract Star Wars films or big Marvel movies.
Edinburgh at least gets a starring role in this one, even if it is being kept under wraps until the film comes out at the end of the month. Pauline McLean, reporting Scotland.
Well, let's see what the weather's up to from Cozer.
Thank you, Jackie. Good evening to you all. We've had some real contrast across the country today. Further towards the east, a lot of mist and murk, low cloud as seen from one of our pictures sent in from our weather watchers. Stark contrast across the west, some beautiful sunshine here, tropical seas as well, sent in one of our weather watchers in the Isle of Iona. And we'll continue to see contrast tomorrow too. But here's a recent satellite image. You can see where we've had that extensive cloud and har along the Berwickshire coast and up towards parts of Aberdeenshire as well. Elsewhere, some decent spells of sunshine in the west. And for the far north, for the Northern Isles, some good sunny spells. And we'll see some good clear spells overnight here and a good chance of catching sight of the Aurora Borealis. Here is the Northern Lights. You can see dipping down across Scotland and a good chance to see it overnight tonight across parts of Shetland, maybe Orkney, the far north and the northwest as well. Here is this evening's map. Then you can see a lot of clouds still lingering for more central and eastern parts, more in the way of mist and low cloud building overnight. The best chance of clearer skies will be towards the northwest and the far north, but a freshening easterly breeze making it feel cool in some spots, but temperatures dipping to around 3 to 7 Celsius. For tomorrow then, well, quite a cloudy day for some, and that cloud will continue to increase during the course of the morning. The best chance of any sunshine once again across parts of the northwest, but further towards the south, we'll start to see some rain arriving, showery rain in nature. So if you're heading out around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the risk of 1 or 2 showers across parts of Dumfries and Galloway. A lot of dry weather, though, further towards the west coast. Across the east, a lot more in the way of cloud, again, mist and murk for coastal areas, and it could be quite damp, quite persistent perhaps at times further towards parts of Angus and Aberdeenshire. Drier further towards the north. North Highlands seeing a lot of cloud and Orkney too, but staying dry and sunny for Shetland for most of the day. And a contrast in our temperatures once more. Further east, 5 or 6 degrees. In the west, maybe 12 to 13 Celsius. Showery rain continues during the evening, and by Friday, a lot of cloud around, outbreaks of rain mainly towards the south and the east. Driest once again in the northwest. And that's your forecast.
Thank you very much, Cozer. And now a reminder of tonight's main news. President Trump has warned Russia to get ready for missile strikes against Syria in response to an alleged chemical attack near Damascus. Russia is urging Washington not to take military action. And that's all from us. Good evening.